Good morning, y'all. Josh's Severe Weather. Lots to talk about with a major storm getting ready to impact many folks here across the central and eastern United States. Let me share my screen with you here and talk about the dangerous storm setup we're expecting to have here as we get towards this evening down south and then into tomorrow across parts of the Ohio Valley and the deep south. We've got a very potent system heading in our direction, and it's going to provide a few areas that I'm concerned about with some tornadoes. The Storm Prediction Center has now got enhanced risks in the areas, and it is possible we could still see an upgrade from that. I'm not really sure yet, but models are starting to trend back in the direction where I thought they were over the weekend, with potentially a significant outbreak of tornadoes and severe damaging winds as well. What we've got on the map, we've got two well-defined systems. The first one moving into the Great Lakes and out to the north and east. That one just producing some rain out across parts of the Ohio Valley this morning, and then heavy snow back across the upper Midwest where it's a lot colder. Storm number two, spinning over the Four Corners region, is going to move into the plains this evening and draw a lot of moisture in out of the south and west and faster winds aloft. And that is going to set the stage here for a couple of days of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, now has an enhanced risk for severe weather across the Ark-La-Miss region into western Tennessee. That includes a 10% chance of significant tornadoes, including the Memphis, Pine Bluff, Bartlett, South Haven, and Greenville, Mississippi areas. Almost 2 million people have the potential of seeing a significant tornado, and that is bounded by an area that extends all the way towards Dallas-Fort Worth and all the way up towards Evansville, Indiana. The entire region here of that could see potentially a tornado, especially tonight, will be as much as 14 million people. And a lot of this is going to be coming after dark tonight once the storm moves into a richer environment for storms to develop and supercells to form as well ahead of it, which could fuel some thunderstorms. Now, tomorrow, I don't quite agree with how this is shaped, but honestly, I think there will be severe weather tomorrow. We've got 14 million people in an enhanced risk for severe weather. That includes Columbus, Ohio, Nashville, Cincinnati, Louisville, and Birmingham, Alabama, bounded by an area of slight risk. That's another 20 million, and an area of marginal, that's another 18 million. So about 40 million people could potentially see severe weather tomorrow. The area of significant tornadoes looks to be primarily here in Dixie Alley across Mississippi and Alabama, a 10% risk of severe weather or significant tornadoes, EF2 or greater. So that is the area I'm concerned with. I do think, looking at some of the parameters in the latest models, that there could be another area to watch over Kentucky and into central Ohio as well, but that's going to be more of a conditional area. We're going to need to see some instability in place like some of the models are showing. By the time we get to day three, the threat for severe weather does weaken as we lose a lot of the strength of the winds that can create wind shear over the southeast, but there could be a few heavier storms from North Florida up into eastern North Carolina. So we'll take a look at temperatures here, and you can see the warm air surging northward here today, with highs expected to be well into, this is today, well into the 60s and 70s again across the southeast, 80s across Florida. That is bounded by a very strong front, which is going to produce highs in the single digits here across the Dakotas and below zero in parts of the Rockies. So definitely a strong contrast in our storm air masses here. Tomorrow is still a very warm day in the southeast, but it is going to cool off quickly here behind the front by tomorrow night. And you can see that while it will be a mild night tomorrow night up the East Coast, all the way into New England, where we're going to have morning temperatures in the 40s and 50s, we do have much colder weather coming down from the Midwest, with single digits and even below zero temperatures in parts of Minnesota during the morning tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Friday, and then a much colder day on Saturday, where high temperatures struggle to get out of the 30s and 40s for much of the eastern U.S. and 20s and teens over the Canadian border. All right, so here's what the NAM model shows as far as the radar goes. Storm number one producing snow this morning over Minnesota into northwestern Ontario, and some lighter showers from Louisiana up into Pennsylvania and southeast Ontario, as well as Michigan. Not really a big deal out of this other than the snow on the backside, accompanied by some stronger wind gusts over 40 miles per hour. Storm 2 is going to have a bigger footprint on the country. That is in the Four Corners region. And as we get to about 6 o'clock this evening, we will start to see a few scattered showers and storms popping up in southern Oklahoma and North Texas. As we get into tonight, we see that area beginning to grow around midnight, and maybe some severe weather here in the Red River Valley And then as we get into the overnight hours, things become potentially more dangerous as we see scattered supercells here over the Ark-La-Mis region. This is about 4 or 5 in the morning for those of you in this area, and a bigger area of showers and storms, which could have a little bit of rotation with them by tomorrow morning. As we get to tomorrow morning, heavier showers and storms expanding into the Ohio Valley and western Pennsylvania, and then thunderstorms firing on the warm part of this storm over Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee early in the afternoon, spreading eastward across much of the Mid-South here tomorrow, later in the day into tomorrow evening. There's a pretty good cold side of this storm that'll produce heavy snow from Colorado and Kansas up into Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northwest Illinois, maybe even Chicagoland by the end of the afternoon, and then spreading up into Michigan and around the Lake Huron area. And there'll be some freezing rain perhaps in the Detroit region, as well as up to about Toronto and far upstate New York into interior Maine. Tomorrow will be a wet day over the southeast, especially North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, but we lose the chance for severe weather at that point. And here's why. So the NAM model shows, here's Storm 1 lifting out of the Great Lakes. Storm 2, this is this evening, bringing a deepening low-level jet here over the Ark-La-Mis. A lot of stronger winds that can be carried into these updrafts, and some wind shear as well, meaning we will likely see some supercell storms, and some of which could be rotating. That area lifts up into Ohio and western Pennsylvania around early tomorrow afternoon, and we still have strong enough winds out of the southwest aloft to produce some severe weather all the way into Alabama and Mississippi. Down there, it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's more of a conditional threat than maybe over Ohio. The problem is in Ohio, it's not going to be as warm and humid. So we're battling between dynamics and thermodynamics. Dynamics being the amount of available wind that can produce severe storms, and thermodynamics being the amount of heat and moisture that is required to produce enough activity in the first place to tap into that dynamic air mass. Here's the thermodynamics. The Cape, convective available potential energy, starts picking up this evening over the Ark-La-Tex and then spreads into the Ark-La-Mis. It does wane, but it is still high enough to support stronger storms. As we get to tomorrow, it's kind of a narrower band heading up into Ohio and western Pennsylvania, but enough to produce some severe weather, maybe some lower end tornadoes by the time we get to tomorrow evening. More richer moisture, though, over Mississippi and Alabama. That's the area we're probably going to have to watch the most here late tomorrow afternoon, and then it starts dying off as we head into southern Alabama and western Florida later tomorrow night. As we get into Friday, you can see that there's just not that much instability left over for severe weather, but there could be a few thunderstorms by then. The NAM model shows the chance for significant tornadoes starts climbing in northeast Texas. This area is going to be capped, so we're not likely to see any kind of tornadic activity. We're maybe more focused on the Dallas area. And then as we get to later tonight, obviously we've got more instability at that point, and we've got the potential for some stronger storms and maybe a strong tornado or two by daybreak tomorrow. That area will regenerate and recycle into southeast Indiana, northern Kentucky, and western Ohio by late tomorrow afternoon, with a bigger area forming from the Florida parishes of Louisiana up into western Alabama. And that's the area we're going to watch into tomorrow evening. Notice how both areas, when they hit more stable air, do very quickly shrivel up by tomorrow evening. The HRRR model, HRRR, shows our radar, just a few scattered showers today into tonight. And then as we get later into tonight, we'll watch this area of showers and storms, but these are the areas we really need to be watching around midnight tonight for potentially some rotating supercells. And actually, let me zoom this back to the west so y'all can see Texas as well. And you can see right now there's a threat for severe weather this evening from north of Dallas to southeastern Oklahoma. But then as we get later into the evening, and especially overnight, this area is growing in Ark-La-Mis in the Delta region. That's where we've got to be most concerned about supercell tornadoes. And then as we get into the day tomorrow, we see that area does move up into Tennessee. We have to watch Middle Tennessee later in the morning, but the area of more dangerous storms looks like it's going to develop here in central and southern Mississippi, and then that will spread into western Alabama around 3 o'clock central. So you can see the HRRR shows a pretty robust area of supercell storms. Some of these could produce a stronger tornado or two. And as we get later into the afternoon and nighttime, more of a squall line, which could still have a tornado threat with it, but not going to be as high by then. Farther off to the north and east, I'll show you the Ohio Valley, and that's the second area I'm watching. Just a few showers right on through tonight, heavier storms lifting up through Middle Tennessee. We'll have to keep an eye on this boundary here right through the Nashville and Cookeville areas around midnight tonight. That spreads up into Kentucky and weekends. Area number 2, we're keeping an eye on back in northern Mississippi. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow, spreads north and east, and we have to watch this region across the middle of Kentucky and Tennessee early tomorrow afternoon. That is going to move east and northeastward, and it looks like maybe another region to watch for tornadoes later tomorrow afternoon around Lexington and heading up into southern Ohio, and then maybe even sneaking into West Virginia here at the end of the afternoon. Eastern Kentucky has to watch for a tornado as well. Farther south and east, the amount of instability weakens, so we just end up with an area of heavier rain and maybe a few thunderstorms by tomorrow evening, and that spreads into the Carolinas and Virginia later in the day. You can see the HRRR, significant tornado parameter, is climbing pretty quickly here this evening. I think this whole area is not going to see tornadoes. You have a kind of a cap, but by the time things break in northeast Texas, we see the threat for tornadoes, and then especially in the arc limits here tonight. And that area moves into Tennessee tomorrow morning, so we're going to be watching it, and then expands into Kentucky and southern and central Ohio here late tomorrow. Kind of two areas I'm watching, one in here and one up in here. Tomorrow afternoon will be our peak time for tornadoes, and then things quickly diminish, but still a limited threat for tornadoes tomorrow night in southeast Alabama. And we'll take a look at the lightning density real fast for y'all, and you can see why we're seeing so much potential here, but nothing popping up, just too much of a cap. So really the Tennessee Valley gets the best of it. But tomorrow, different story. We get down into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and likely a chance for some stronger to severe storms in here, as well as sneaking up into Ohio as well. Finally, we'll look at snow. And Storm 1 moves up towards the James Bay. Storm 2 dumping a lot of snow from Colorado up into Omaha, central Iowa, and then spreading up into Michigan and northeast Canada. The potential for, at least a foot of snow in this region to stick to the ground. This is how much will accumulate. But as we look into Iowa, we can see probably generally a 6 to 12 inch area of accumulation. And then, spreading north and east into Wisconsin and Michigan, probably 4 to 6 inches of accumulation. So I hope you guys in these danger zones take things seriously. Later tonight, well, most of us are asleep. We will likely have tornado watches and maybe some stronger tornadoes forming in the middle of the night. I really hope people take this seriously. I also hope that I end up being overdone on this forecast, same with the Storm Prediction Center, and that things don't turn out as strong as maybe it looks like they may. Obviously, I don't want any death and destruction. I want to be with the folks here and help guide them through some severe weather, and also ask God to be watching over them and to giving them a hedge of protection. And I also say, as a Christian man, I want to read a passage that spoke to me from Matthew 7:7. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened for you. So those of you who are praying, folks, ask for the Lord to protect these folks that are in harm's way tonight and especially tomorrow. Lord, be with them, and just ask God, and he shall answer those questions and requests. And if you need any prayer, or if you have any prayer requests, I'm happy to pray for you. I thank you for your time this morning. We'll have another one for you in the morning with updates on the YouTube channel and Facebook page throughout the day as severe weather warrants. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless you.